Hello there, everyone. It's Lindsay Lapaquette here yet again, live with Lindsay. And today I'm really excited to be speaking with Eloïse Gagnon, who is an executive coach and business strategist. And Eloïse is going to be talking to us about alignment for business and personal growth. And alignment has kind of become kind of a big word recently. And I've had people actually ask me in past, what does that mean? And how do you know if you're living in alignment and what impact it has on your business? I'm really excited to get the chance to pick Eloise's brain tonight. So for everyone watching, I would love it if you would just drop a note in the chat that you're here with us. Let us know that you're watching and where you're watching from. This is interactive. So as Eloise and I are chatting, please feel free to drop your questions, comments in the chat, and we'll make sure that Eloise has a chance to answer all of your questions. So just before I bring Eloise in with us, I wanted to share her bio. So for over 15 years, Eloise worked as an international corporate lawyer for the family business after having worked for an international accounting firm. In the course of her legal practice, Eloïse Gagnon traveled the world, mainly in the Middle East and Europe. She worked alongside seasoned business leaders, executives, and successful entrepreneurs. She developed an expertise in strategic planning, mission statements, self-leadership, and performance mindset. With more than 2 decades of experience, Eloïse coaches business owners and top executives on clarifying their goals, defining their values, mission and vision, and implementing the tools and skills they need for business and personal growth and lasting success. So on that note, I'm going to invite Eloïse in here with us. So hey.
Hi, Lindsay. Hi, everyone.
So nice of you to be taking time out of your evening to spend with me. I said to my husband, she has two young children. He said, well, maybe she'll enjoy a break from them. And
absolutely,
that's another way to look at it.
Yes, and if you hear a weird noise, it's because they're running upstairs.
It's not a weird noise to me at all. My daughter likes to bang on my door as soon as I start recording a podcast. That's her.
Of course she does. That's her cue. That's
only
her
when
cue.
I'm recording a podcast. So I just wanted to say hi. Nancy's here watching from Montreal. And again, whoever is watching, I'd love it if you'd let us know where you're from. Nancy, thanks for joining us. And like I said, if you have any specific questions for Eloïse as we're going along, please feel free to share. But I'm going to kick us off.
Okay. Yes, because I love what you said in your intro about this being interactive and collaborative. I love answering people's questions, especially when it comes to alignment. I also especially love talking to you, Lindsay, but yes, do ask your questions. I'll be happy to answer them.
Yeah, it always surprises me sometimes how people watch for so long but don't ask their questions. And I think this is the perfect chance to pick your brain for free. So
for free,
everyone can take advantage of that. Not that there's anything wrong with just listening. But yeah, for sure. Feel free to ask questions. And I try to get to as many of them as I can. So I guess, can we just start off by you defining what alignment means? Because I use that word often enough, and it's not rare that somebody says to me, well, what exactly does that mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we talk about being in alignment, is your thoughts, your words, and your actions corresponding and working towards the same vision and end goal. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is that sometimes we'll think of something, we'll say something else, and we'll act in a completely different direction. And then we'll wonder, well, how come I'm not getting to the result I want? How come my end result isn't what I thought I was going to get? And that's because what you thought you wanted, what you said, and what you did actually weren't. And I usually do this. When I say alignment, I usually do this. Everything wasn't in perfect alignment. So maybe you thought you wanted something, but then you went out and you did something else, and you said something different. So it kind of looks like a curve, right?
Yeah.
That's the curve that we have to bring back into a straight line.
I like the way you describe it with visuals.
Yeah, so that's what it is, right? It's bringing things back into a straight line. And you know you're in alignment. People are like, well, how do I know if I'm in alignment? It's when things just flow. Things feel easier. I'm not saying things are easy, but they feel easier. You feel like the momentum is going. You're enjoying. You have this sense of fulfillment in whatever it is that you're doing. And it could be a very difficult task, but you feel this kind of like bounce in your step and you're going with it and it's fun and it's light. That's when you're in alignment.
Mm.
But when you're struggling, things are difficult. And I'm not talking about rejection or facing failure. I'm thinking about when you're going through the motion and you're like, ah, this feels off. Like, I feel like I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do. I feel like something is missing. That's when you're in your curve. That's when you're out of alignment.
Mhm.
So that's the perfect time to ask yourself, did I clearly define what I wanted? And then did I translate that into my actions and what I said I was going to do?
Mhm.
That's where the key is.
Yeah, I recognize that a lot. That when you're, for me, resistance that I'm feeling within myself is a big
Yeah.
sign that I'm not in alignment. And I guess that's what you're describing, right? When you're not in resistance, it flows and it comes easily.
Yes.
And when I
Yes.
start to feel that I'm just really struggling or really caught up in my head,
Yeah.
that's a sign for me of, ooh, go back and check in. And one thing I would add too, so you talked about thoughts and actions, and I think it's feelings too, right? So I see
Yeah.
where sometimes in my life that I'm doing what I think I should do instead of what I actually want to do, but I'm not really aware that that I don't actually want to do the thing I think I want to do, but I'm
Yeah.
doing it because that's based on the way I was raised and society's expectations.
Yes.
And um yeah, when my feelings and thoughts are out of alignment, then that impacts my action because I'll be going after goals, but I'm not going at them the same way I do as when I am in alignment. And like you said, when you're really invested,
Yeah.
truly.
And you have to check in with yourself, because the thing about feelings is that you have to get to know. A lot of people talk about like their gut and their instincts, but you have to practice listening to your gut and your instinct. You have to
Mhm.
practice listening to that inner voice, because oftentimes our biases are fear, the fear of rejection, the fear of failure, the fear of judgment, which is so big in this social media age that we're in. The fear of judgment by others will often take place of our inner voice. So we end up listening to what we think is our inner voice. We
Mm.
end up listening to what we think we are feeling, but that's actually our fear talking.
Right.
So
Right.
we
So I guess
have
it is listening to feelings, but just the ones that are,
that may
yeah.
not guide you where you want to go. And that's why I always tell people, and if you're not asking questions, then please take notes on what I'm going to say, is that when you feel that you are not in alignment, you're like, "Ah, something's missing," go back and ask yourself, what is it that I truly want?
Mhm.
And here's the beauty about what you truly want: there's no wrong answers. There is no wrong answers about what you want. And I find that right now, a lot of people's priorities are shifting or have shifted, right? With this whole pandemic, people's priorities have shifted. But if what you truly want is to take care of your health and take care of your family and take care of your loved ones, then your actions have to be aligned with that.
Mhm.
And that's a good shift. It's a good goal. But it's also a very good goal if you see, oh, you know what, there's a lot of opportunities for my business to grow right now and I could really scale up. Then your actions need to be aligned with that. And that's
Mhm.
also a good shift. That's also a good
Yeah.
goal. There's nothing wrong with what we want. Where we trip ourselves is that we're not clear on what we want,
Mhm.
or we're afraid of what we want.
Yeah.
It,
So I'd love to hear from people listening.
yes.
What signs you see in yourself that suggest to you that you're not in alignment? What is it that you pick up, in your body, in your mind, in your actions that is suggesting to you that you're not in alignment? I'd love if you'd share that in the chat, because I think we all have different signs, and I think sometimes hearing what others can clue into can help us become more in tune with that. So I'll share a little story from earlier today. So I have some things that I need to contract out to somebody. And I've been slowly, interviewing, getting to know a few different professionals who I'm looking at. And today I sat down to do some things this morning, and I got really caught up in my head around in my thinking, right? Well, this
Right.
person has this, and these are the pros and these are the cons. And for about an hour, debated and
Yeah.
felt no clearer. And I thought,
Right.
okay, that's it. I got to call my sister. And, and my husband often sees those phone calls as like, there she goes. She's not working. She's on a phone call with her sister, right? He's like,
Right.
oh, she's on the phone with Ashley again. But it's my way also of getting more aligned because she knows me so well that she knows how to walk me through. What I'm hearing from you is that, and by the end of a half-hour conversation, it was so clear to me which person was a fit for me and which person I was inclined towards almost because of the doubt they had created in me through the sales process.
Okay.
Which is not a great fit for me. And so sometimes just having that space to step away. So I didn't fully step away from it there. Sometimes I need to go into nature, but it gave me enough space from my thinking. Like I just knew I could see myself in those thinking loops of contrasting and comparing and not moving further forward. And so for me, that's a big sign of debating it further in your head is not going to get you any closer. You need to figure out how to be in alignment in this decision. And once I got there, then the rest of the day, like I made the decision, I contacted the person, I moved forward. And so like you said, it's that resistance versus when it's flowing, and then it felt right and I could move on. So I think it's at the basis of doing well in business and life. And so can you speak to that a bit? Like, what differences do you see in businesses who are in alignment? Well, I mean, I don't know if it's possible to be in alignment 100% of the time. But
I don't think anybody's in alignment 100% of the time. I get that question. Are you in alignment 100% of the time? I'm like, oh, heck no.
My children.
Oh, heck no. I'm in and out of alignments 100 times a day. And that's completely normal. Yeah, it's completely normal. Like nobody's always in alignment. I remember having a conversation. I was in a monastery doing a silent retreat. I was really young. I was 16. And I remember asking a priest, a father, I was so impressed. I'm like, are you always this saintly? Like, are you always like this religious? And he looked at me and he's like, oh no. Like, he's like, this is what I do. But he's like, there are often times where I have like bad emotions or stuff like that. And I remember thinking, okay, if someone that is in his position could step in and out of being aligned with his calling, then it's okay for me to also be misaligned. And to me, it relieved a lot of pressure and a lot of stress and being like, okay, I'm having a human experience. So it's okay for me to be imperfect. And I think that that's a really important message for everybody that's listening, that it's okay if you don't get everything right all the time, right? It's okay if you make mistakes. It's okay if you act out of alignment. It's not a finality. You can backtrack, you can review, you can take on a new direction, right? So it's more, I push people more to take action because I don't want them to have the regret of not having at least tried. Because sometimes even when you try to be in alignment, you still can't find the answer. And that when that happens, I always tell people, you know what, whatever you pick, just go for it. Just go for it. And we'll realign as you go along. But do not sit on the sideline and watch an opportunity pass you by and be like, maybe I should have tried.
Right. Because I think sometimes you can't know all the factors. So if I think, for instance, so when I think of my shift, when I let go of my permit as a speech therapist, and I know you left your career also, there was a lot of fear and self-doubt and fear of perception and loss of credibility and all sorts of stuff that I was working through. And a lot of it was I was trying to figure out perfectly, will this be in alignment or not? But I didn't know all the factors of what this hypothetical situation I wanted to create looked like. And so I find that I sometimes get caught up in that, trying to make sure a future decision is perfectly aligned, when in reality, you can only make sure that it's aligned for today, And like you said, that I've had to learn that I can't look at those decisions as final. That if I get into things, and because they might even be in alignment for a while and then your life changes. I look at, we're living in a house we've been in for 5 years, which we felt was in perfect alignment with what we wanted and thought this would be our forever home. And we want to move to the country now. And
you and so many other people. Yeah, absolutely.
I know we can't find a house because of it, but
I know.
But like that, what is in alignment for you today won't necessarily be in the future. And that's okay too.
That's okay. But I think that people have to know, and I always go back to knowing what you want and the vision that you have for yourself and your business. And if it's your business or your career. And I find that's very, very important. And I love to give this example because it comes to show in a business how important it is to be true to who you are and the vision that you have and the message that you send out. So I don't know if you remember, this was years ago, McDonald's came out with a pizza. Do you remember those days? Okay.
Yes, I do.
So they spent millions of dollars testing and creating and doing the development and putting it on the menu, right? And then the McDonald's pizza came out and it was a total fiasco. It was a complete disaster. And within a few years, they took it off the menu. And I was watching a documentary on McDonald's where they said, we took out the pizza because it was pretty much one of our dumbest ideas. It was so misaligned with who we are and what we stand for. We weren't able to give a quality, less expensive product on a pizza where people could go just down the street at a mom and pop shop and get like a much better Italian pizza made by the like nonna and nonno, right? So that mistake cost McDonald's millions and millions of dollars. Now, if you're McDonald's, you're like, okay, you know, we can absorb the shock. But if you're a small business, that's a very costly mistake. And the reason people make those mistakes is not because making a pizza in and of itself, there's nothing wrong with that. Where because of that decision is because it is not aligned with the vision that McDonald's has.
Yeah.
But to know that it's not aligned, you have to start with your vision. So for, you know, in your personal life and just like in your business, you have to know what you want and where you're going. Because people often say, well, I don't know, should I take this opportunity? Well, I don't know. Where is it that you're going? Where is that opportunity going to lead you? Is this opportunity aligned with your products, your offers, the clients that you're targeting? Or is it misaligned? And people's like, well, what impact will it have? And my answer is always, well, the time, the energy, the focus, the resources that you're going to put out to bring this opportunity to life are things that you're not having available for an opportunity that could be exactly what you want, that's going to push you forward, that's going to propel you in your career, in your business, in your life. But you'll only know that once you have a defined vision of what you want. And in all of my experience, and I go back to the question you answered, you know, originally, the impact of being in alignment in your business and in your life. And when I traveled to the Middle East, I became fascinated with people that came from nothing, and I mean nothing, and build real estate empires who were fulfilled and joyful and happy. And then I met these people who were equally successful, who had built these huge companies, these billion-dollar companies, who were miserable and depressed and stepping down from everything that I had spent years and decades building. And I'm like, why is it? What makes the difference? And what became quickly apparent was that the people that were fulfilled and joyful and happy, it's not that they had it easier. It's simply because they always acted in alignment.
Right.
They knew who they were. They knew what they wanted. They knew the vision that they had for their life and their business. And they set in motion a plan of action that was aligned with all that. As opposed to the other person that I worked with who was absolutely miserable, and I saw a lot of them that were that way, is they chased one thing. They chased, you know, fortune or money or success or their perception of success from others and, you know, the glamour, but it wasn't who they truly were and what they truly wanted. So they burnt themselves out. And once they actually reached that level of success and fame, they stepped away. Because they realized that it wasn't what they wanted. They weren't fulfilled. They reached that goal and they're like, why do I still feel empty? And I'm like, because that's never the goal you wanted to begin with.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. And again, for everyone listening, I'd love to hear if you've ever had that experience where you stop and realize, oh, wait a second, I'm not happy here. This isn't what I want to do. Because I think a lot of people have had those moments, whether you've chosen to shift anything in your life or not. I think we've certainly all had moments of realizing, oh, heck, this is the career I thought I wanted to be in, the neighborhood I wanted to be in, the friends I thought I wanted to be hanging around with, all that, to realize, oh, wait, I'm not actually happy, even though I have all this stuff. um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I just love to hear from everyone. And I just want to share that we do have a podcast episode with Eloise. So if you look up lindsaylapaquette.com/podcast, Eloise is episode 12, and she talks about the importance of purpose and vision in business. And we get a lot more in depth into this. So if you're interested in learning more about this, you can pop on over and take a look at that podcast episode, because it's a great interview. So one thing I want to talk about then is that once you realize that you're not in alignment, that's the point where people usually decide, okay, something, well, I was going to say people usually decide something in my life has to change if the pain is great enough. So I know I've certainly had moments in my life where I've felt that and have chosen to do nothing about it. And
Absolutely.
there's other times I have. And so as people are working through that shift, what is more important? Is it the mindset behind it, or being able to take massive action to move forward?
Okay. That's such a great question, because I am such a fan of taking massive action. Like, I am all about taking action. But in all of my experience, if you do not have the right mindset, your actions will only take you so far. Because if you don't have the right mindset, the fear, your biases, your belief system will eventually take over. Because one thing that it takes to shift is courage. It takes a lot of courage to shift. It takes a lot of courage to choose not to be an ostrich and put your head in the sand when there's a problem and be like, nope, I don't want to see it. I don't want to know that it's there. If I don't pay attention, it's just going to go away. The thing is, it doesn't. It doesn't go away. And if you feel misaligned, or you feel like something is not right, or you want to quit your job, or you want to start a business, or you want to step away from a friendship, whatever it is that is not good for you right now in your life that you want to get rid of or move away from, you have to have the courage to look at it in the eye and say, this is not good for me. This is not what I want. And once you've said that, I guarantee you a huge weight will lift off of your shoulder. But then the question comes, okay, what next? Okay, I said it. Perfect. I said it. You know, this is not good for me. And then what? Then you go to what you want, and then you start having a plan of action. And then you look at little steps that you can take. And what I often tell people is, look at your strengths and weaknesses. And when you're looking to shift, base your shift on your strengths. So let's say you're someone that's very courageous, or you're someone that loves to learn. You're very knowledgeable, and you're like, okay, I'm going to do this shift. If learning is something that you're comfortable with, then go out there and get as much knowledge as you can on that shift, right? So if it's to, I'm saying, if it's to step away from a partnership, right? You're in business with someone, you're like, this is not serving me well anymore. I have to step away from this partnership. Then we, at this day and age, have access to so much information, right? Go on Google, try to get information, try to wrap your head, get yourself into the mindset of, okay, I want to put an end to this partnership. This is not serving me. I'm going to go get the information I need. I'm going to talk to a coach, to a mentor, to people that have, ended a partnership before. I'm going to tap into my resources, and surrounding yourself with the information and the people that have been through that, or that can give you information on that, is going to elevate you. It's going to give you that courage. It's going to give you that information that you crave. That's going to allow you to move one step at a time. And I always tell people, you don't have to rip the entire Band-Aid off in one shot.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if that's not your forte, if you're like, oh no, like this is scary for me, it's okay. Do little by little. Set bite-sized goals for yourself to get to the end result. And always step forward and towards that goal.
Yeah. So I just want to share real quick that Lynn's watching and says she loves your message. So thanks for checking in, Lynn. Appreciate your feedback. So what I wanted to share was I was thinking of my transition from speech therapist to what I'm doing now. Yeah. And so I was taking action initially, but still wasn't quite in the mindset of, I hadn't let go of my identity. I don't know if I still fully have, let's be honest. It's been a little while, but I mostly have, I think. I really hadn't let go. I still saw myself as a speech therapist, even though it wasn't what I was doing. And so I would, for instance, be traveling to a client. I'd hop in a cab and the cab driver would say to me, "So what do you do?" And I'd say, "I'm a speech therapist." And I actually wasn't. I wasn't. So I might have still had my license. I guess I don't know. Anyhow, like I wouldn't have called myself a speech therapist if I was unregistered, but I would present myself basically as not what I was actually doing, because in my mindset, I was still in my old identity. And it gave me pause, because I would think, why am I right? It was just automatic. And of course, how does that affect me? Well, what if the cab driver knows someone? Because I used, I get into long chats sometimes with the cab drivers, and who he would introduce me to, but now he won't, because I'm not presenting myself as my current profession. And that was a real shift for me to introduce myself. And so I see what you're saying, that like when you're taking action, but your mindset isn't there yet, your actions don't fully align with the direction you want to be going. And it's kind of like self-sabotage in a way, whether it's intentional or not, you're holding yourself back. And like you said, for me, it wasn't a, overnight, I assumed this identity, but those bite-sized chunks for me was, you will no longer introduce yourself as a speech therapist. Exactly. And for the longest time, I had to work to not even reference that I was one, because I would do podcast interviews and really easily fall into stories that weren't fully related. And so now I still reference it. Now it's part of my past, but my identity is not as entwined with it. So I can do that and keep it more separate. But that bite-sized goal of, I'm going to find a concrete way to implement this, was really helpful for me to shift the mindset too.
I laugh when you say that, because I remember when I decided not to be a lawyer, I actually introduced myself as, I was a lawyer. And I remember hearing myself say that the first time, and I started out laughing, and I'm just going, and the person's like, "What?" I'm like, I can't believe I introduced myself as my former self.
Totally.
Like, please, happy to meet you. I was a former lawyer. And it's like, well, what do you do now? And I'm like, oh yes, now I'm a coach, but I was a lawyer. I just wanted you to know.
Oh God, I went through that.
And I thought that was so silly. But I realized that being a lawyer was so intertwined with my identity. And to me, it went deeper, right? Because my dad wanted me to be a lawyer, and I worked with my father.
Yeah.
So there was a whole layer of, who am I if I'm not a lawyer?
Yeah.
Am I still a great daughter if I'm not a lawyer? Am I still worthy of love and acceptance if I'm not a lawyer? Yeah. So for me, it went very, very deep. And the way that I was able to shift, and I did my shift rather quickly, is I went back to, obviously, you know what I'm going to say. I went back to what I wanted, like how I wanted to show up in the world and the impact that I wanted. And to me, that was such a strong calling to become a coach and to impact positively others. But I also looked at who I was as a person. Mm-hmm. And I think we miss that sometimes. And I realized that all the things that I loved or accepted about myself had nothing to do with being a lawyer.
Yeah.
The fact that I love to go to school, the fact that I love to learn, I just happened to learn law. I just happened to go to law school, but I love to learn. I also wanted to go into mathematics and philosophy because I love to learn.
Yeah.
And so that allowed me to distance myself from a label. And I think oftentimes we get caught in these labels of, I'm a lawyer, I'm a doctor, I'm a dentist, I'm a speech therapist, I'm a financial advisor, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a partner. Those are all labels that we give ourselves. And when the label no longer fits, we're like, oh, well, what do I do with that?
Yeah.
How do I no longer have this label? And I'm like, well, you go back to basics, and the basics is you go back to knowing who you are as a person. And I always tell people, when you have a business, it doesn't matter if you're starting out your business or if you've been in business for 10 years, your business is a reflection of who you are.
Yeah, for sure.
So if you don't know who you are, it'll be very difficult for you to scale your business. You can put together the greatest growth strategies. It'll only take you so far, because who you are is what's going to take you further.
Yeah, that makes total sense to me. So for people who want to get to that massive action or to build that massive business, what is the mindset that they need to be in to get there?
Okay, perfect. That's such a great question. So Jim Rohn, Tony Robbins, and all those always said success leaves clues, right? So what I encourage people to do when you want to grow your business massively, know that the person that you are right now is the person that took you to where your business is. So if you want your business to double in profits, double in revenue, double in sales, then you have to be aware that you're going to have to be a different person.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be who you are and have a different result. You are who you are, so you got the result that you have right now. You want different results, you're going to have to be a different person. So how do you get to that different person? Look at the people around you. Look at the people that have succeeded. What have they done? And most of the time, what it comes back to is their focus, their ability to prioritize, their morning routine. And I can't stress enough the importance of a morning routine. I do not care if you wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, at 9 o'clock in the morning, or at noon. A morning routine is what you do. There's nothing wrong with waking up at any of those hours, okay? You have to have a routine that sets you up for success.
Yeah.
The first things that you do when you wake up have to be for yourself and for your success. And then slowly, you have to believe that you can double your business, double your profits, double your revenue, right? And then you have to surround yourself with people that have brought their business, that have scaled it up to a level where you want to scale it up.
Yeah.
And one of the problems that a lot of my entrepreneur clients have is they're like, well, all my friends work 9-to-5 jobs. And there's nothing wrong with working a 9-to-5 job, but they won't understand your reality.
Yeah.
They won't understand that 1 week you'll work 90 hours and another week you'll work 35. And they won't understand what your life is and what your challenges are. So surround yourself with people that have those challenges, and surround yourself with people that have the level of success that you want. And what you'll soon discover is not that they work 100 hours a week, is that they are laser focused on what they want, and they are very good at putting their priorities first. And there's a great book by Stephen Covey called First Things First. And I encourage anybody that's looking to scale up or grow their business to go and read that book, because it really points out something very important that we tend to forget, right? We live in a society where we love to be busy. We love the idea of being busy. We love to show others that we are busy.
Yes.
But being busy does not mean you are being productive. It doesn't mean you are focused, and it doesn't mean that you're getting what should get done, right? Yeah. And so one of the things that you're going to have to shift when you want to grow is you're going to have to learn to put things aside. You're going to have to learn to prioritize. You're going to have to learn to sacrifice certain things. And that's where the clarity of what you want becomes extremely important. Because if those sacrifices include your family, is that something that you're willing to do? If those sacrifices include your friends, your money, your time, your energy, are those things that you're willing to do? Are you willing to do those sacrifices? And if you say no, that's fine. Like I said, there's no right or wrong here. If you say no, that's fine. Then let's look at what it is that you actually do want. Maybe you don't want to double your business. Maybe if just increased by increments of 10 to 25%, you'd be happy, because then you'd have that perfect work-life balance. But if you want to scale up massively, then we'll have to look at who you are now, who you're going to have to be, and the difference between the two.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So when you were talking about how being busy is so prized in our society.
Yes.
It's funny because I find as time goes on, and just with COVID too, I'm having to be more and more strict on where I put my time, because the kids are eating into a lot more of my time than usual. And I'm still really, so my nature, or my natural instinctual response is to say, sorry, I have too much going on. I'm going to have to say no to this. But it's been fascinating to me that the perception of that is, oh, you must be overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, oh no, I'm making this decision so that I'm not overwhelmed. But I think in a world where being busy is a great thing, right?
Yeah.
It's perceived as just such a good thing. And I think there's space to be busy without swamped and making those priorities. Like you say, I think that's what keeps you really focused. Like that's what I keep coming back to is what's my focus? What's my priority? And it's not that there aren't good opportunities coming up. I'm sure you're the same, right? Cannot jump on everything that comes my way. And so being able to come back to what is it I need to focus on now, I find keeps me from getting into that zone of chaos. Not all the time. I'm not perfect at it, but
see, I love being busy because it's a comfortable feeling for me.
it is for me too. It's much easier to say yes than no.
Yes, and I'm comfortable. I have this sense of pride.
Me too.
Displaced pride. It just I'm like, oh, I'm busy. Like, this is good. I'm busy. But what I've learned, and I don't know if I've shared this with you on our podcast or not, what Warren Buffett, the Warren Buffett story with his driver.
So I can't remember. Tell the story.
Okay, I'll have to tell the story. Okay, so this is actually a true story that I read when I was reading an article on Warren Buffett, who's the CEO and billionaire financier of Berkshire Hathaway. And his driver had been his driver for 25 years. And he came to, Mr. Buffett one day and he said, Mr. Buffett, I love being your driver, but I would really like to start something on my own, but I would really like your advice. And Mr. Buffett said, well, of course, I'd be happy to help. And he's like, well, what is it, Mr. Buffett? What is it that you want? And the driver's like, oh, so many ideas. I have so many ideas, so many things I want to do. And Mr. Buffett said, okay, tell you what, go back home, make me a list of your top 25 goals and ideas, things that you want to do. And he's like, oh, okay, I'll do that. And then he came back with the list a week later and he said, okay, these are my 25. And Mr. Buffett said, okay, you're going to pick 5.
Yeah.
And the driver was like, well, like, I really want these 25. And Mr. Buffett, just pick 5. So the driver went and he came back a week later and he's like, all right, I made the list. Like, this is my top 5. Like, I need to get all of these done in my life. Like, it's a must. Mr. Buffett said, yes, absolutely. I totally understand. Now pick 1.
Yeah.
And the driver was like, what? No, you don't understand, Mr. Buffett. Like, I need to get these things done. And Mr. Buffett's like, yes, I understand. Pick 1. Just 1. And you're going to focus all your time, all your energy, all your resources until you get that one thing accomplished. And when you do, then you can look at the other 4 things that were on your list and then tackle the next one thing that you want to do.
So I don't feel like I've heard that story before. I have a really bad memory, but I don't feel like I have.
I didn't share with you that. I'm glad I did.
I don't think I have, but I think you just described like 2 people sitting on each of my shoulders. Yeah. Like me, like being pulled towards opportunities, the me that wants to just jump in, I guess the old me, right? The one that wouldn't reflect and would just dive in head first. And then the more, I don't want to say more rational, but the me that knows how much that pulls me out of alignment, I guess, that is like, no, just pick 1, get it done. And for me personally, I just find that keeps me much more in alignment to not pull into all that chaos that ensues when I want to follow all 25 ideas, which is my nature. I was laughing as you were telling that story.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people like that out there. But if, like, let's say your goal is to improve your customer service, right? And really improve the customer experience, don't spend time chasing more customers.
Right.
Don't spend energy and money chasing more customers. Your focus, if that's what you really want, is really to enhance the customer experience so that later down the road, customers are going to be running towards you.
Absolutely.
Then all your focus and your energy and your love and your attention right now should be on the customers that you currently have.
Yeah.
And I think that people get those goals confused. Like, well, I could focus on customer experience and I can go get more customers and I could build my brand and I could be everywhere on social media at the same time. And, I'm also going to raise my kids and be on the parent teacher committee. And there's 24 hours in a day. We have a set amount of energy per day.
Yeah.
Choose your focus.
Yeah.
And then go after it. And I'm very unforgiving with my clients when it comes to that. They come to me with like problems and stuff. And I'm like, no, why is this even a problem? Why is it? This is not where you should be focusing your attention on right now. And they're like, right.
Yeah. So I'm just going to go in the comments for a second.
Yes.
So Tibor is saying, we like to show others that we're busy. So absolutely. It's like this fake sign of success, right? Being busy.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And Lisa's saying, we tend to look at the money and not the personal aspects, which is huge, right? Because what I was thinking when you were saying that earlier is that it's about, in my perspective, also building sustainable business. So you can certainly run at marathon not marathon, at sprint
Sprint
pace,
yeah.
For a certain amount of time. And then, like you were saying, those people who have built these huge empires and then want to step away from it, it's because they built a marathon. They ran a marathon at sprint pace. Well,
Yeah.
I'm assuming here, obviously, but
Yeah.
there's only so long you can endure that for. And so if you're looking at building sustainable business, it's, I guess, about being sure you're in alignment in both, across everything, as much as possible.
You have to build an ecosystem to support your success.
Yeah.
Right? Who you are, your business, the growth strategies that you put together, the alignment, the vision, the mission, your purpose, it has to be all part of an ecosystem that works together to propel you forward and to propel you towards success. And when I say success, I don't mean the success that we see in others. Not everybody wants to be J-Lo. I love J-Lo. But I mean, not everybody wants to be her, and that's perfectly okay. Not everybody aspires to be Warren Buffett, and that's perfectly okay. You have to define what success is for you.
Yeah.
And then you have to build your ecosystem that's going to support you to reach that success, that definition that you have of success.
Yeah. So I have a related question coming in here.
Yes.
So what if some of the priorities bring in income and some don't? Still focus only on one? What's your advice here?
Okay, well, you have to look at what it is that you want. When you say you want to bring more income, why do you want to bring more income? Is it because you want more money simply to grow your business? Is it more money to reinvest in your business? Is it because you have expenses? Is it because you want to experience, well, I was going to say travel, but that's out of the question. But is it that you want to
trip one day?
Is it to buy a new house? Like, why is it that you want the income? That's the greatest question to ask first. Before you say, well, if I want income and I want something else, ask yourself, why is it that you want the income? Because you may realize that the reason you want the income is not at all aligned with what you want with your personal life. If the reason you do want the income is aligned with what you want for your personal life, then see how the both of them, you can have balance in them. So when you say income, are you in sales? Are you in products? So the way that we build our business is that we make more offers, we'll get more rejections, but we'll also get more yeses, right? So it's all about, are you going to make more offers, or are you going to make higher priced offers? What is it that's going to generate that income for you, right? So I'd love it if she could specify, or you don't have to do it in public, but I want you to think about what it is that the reason behind you wanting more income, and seeing if it's aligned with everything else that you want in your life.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, so it makes me think of the example. So when I was starting my business, I'm not sure if it was the exact start, but anyhow, around the same time,
the startup phase,
I became certified as an eccentrics instructor, kind of like Pilates a little bit. Just loved it. Knew I was not pursuing a future in it.
Yeah.
Spent time and money to get certified, and with no desire to teach. But then when I went to the training, I just fell in love and wanted to teach, and knew that it was not a good business decision because it was going to take up time, but I made the decision for personal reasons. So I knew it would somewhat slow the speed of my business, and I was all okay with that. So again, in weighing the income, and that was okay for our family. But then after teaching for about 9 months, it started to feel like a weight. So the amount of time I had to put into prep for the sessions, and I started to feel like I don't want to teach anymore. I just want to practice on my own. And so that's where the benefit of it, so I dropped it, even though, I felt badly. I had built this small clientele, but still, and then took off on them in under a year, but it wasn't in alignment anymore. It was one day. And so, I think there's importance in sometimes pursuing opportunities that don't pay. I didn't make any money. I think I actually paid to teach if I look at what I made over the 9 months, and I'm okay with that because I wanted the experience and it was fun, and move on, So, but I guess it depends on everyone's specific situation, right? Whether that pursuing it is draining you or feeding you.
Yeah. And I think that not everything, and this is coming from an overachiever, excessively action-oriented person, but not everything has to have a goal.
Yeah.
And I came to that realization. So I've been doing yoga since I'm 4 years old, right? My mom taught me yoga. She taught me Shivananda when I was 4. And at one point, everybody's like, well, you have to teach yoga. You have to teach yoga. And I thought about it for a while. I'm like, okay, I'm going to teach yoga. And then I'm like, no, this is something that I enjoy for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I spend a lot of money and a lot of time training in yoga and going to conventions like around the world with world-renowned yoga instructors with no other benefit than my own, than because I personally love it and enjoy it.
Yeah.
And so I think it's okay also to give ourselves permission to do things that don't have to be so goal-oriented, that
Yes.
don't have to have an end result in mind.
Society's reasons for doing it.
Yes,
Yeah.
you can. I like to email my clients simply to say like, hey, what's up? How's it going? I'm not looking to improve my customer experience, or I genuinely care. Like it makes me feel good to send that email. It makes me feel good to do yoga in the morning. I don't want to have to think that I'm going to teach it. When I'm doing a pose, I'm not like, this would be a great pose for my students. Like I can do this asana in class. No, I just enjoy it. So I think that we also have to give ourselves permission to do things that we love to do, that we enjoy doing, that are not related to building a business or to driving income or, to impact or change the world. And that's perfectly okay. When you do come in, and that's something that I wanted to add to the listener, we have phases in our lives, right? So if you are in a phase where you're like, I really want to increase the income of my business, and I'm in that phase of growth, then if it's not aligned with your personal goals, look if you're in the right business. And if you are in the right business, ask yourself, if for a set period of time, could I put the focus on increasing the income in my family, the income in my business? Yeah. And I know that there's a lot of coaches out there that are going to say, because I've heard them say, you can have it all, you can have a balanced life and a balanced job. And I'm not saying no, you can
have it all plus a burnout.
But it could be possible. I haven't been able to grow my business on autopilot. It's not something everything that I've done, all the success that I have is based on hard work and alignment and working with people like you that are absolutely amazing. Like this to me is in alignment because I love speaking with you, right? Yeah, this to me feels perfectly aligned. And so, but there are phases. And if you are in a phase where you want to increase that income, it's okay to say, you know what, I'm going to sacrifice maybe a little bit of time with my family. And I may sacrifice, if I don't want to sacrifice my family, like Lindsay said at the beginning, I have a 2 and a 4-year-old. I try as much as I can never to sacrifice time with them. So I'm one of those people that wakes up at 4:30 in the morning so that I have my morning routine and I have time to work before they wake up. Mm-hmm. That's a sacrifice I choose to make.
Yeah.
My husband, he sacrifices sleep also, but in the evening, like he'll go to bed very late at night and I go and kiss him goodnight and he's on his computer working. That's a sacrifice he makes so that he's also able to be with our children. So look at what's very important to you. Know that it's a phase. Know that you might have to be running a sprint right now, and that's okay because it's a phase of growth. Yeah, so I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, so I just want to touch base here. So Sipar is saying here, as a mental health provider, she feels that everything she does because she enjoys it makes her a better therapist. And absolutely. I think, and that's what I was thinking as you were saying, it was those activities we pursue for joy, whether you're in mental health or not, brings you, for me at least, into a better space as a person, as a mother, as a friend, as a professional. Yeah. And I did want to say too, except I'm kind of forgetting what I was going to say. No, it's gone. Oh, in terms of having it all. Yeah. Yes. I just wanted to touch on that real quick because so I think when you say, can you have it all? Do I think you can have it all in that, like the biggest aspirations, the wildest aspirations you could have for life all at the same time and all in balance all the time? No, I think that's a bunch of baloney, to be honest. But I think you can have it all in the sense that you can make decisions that align with what you want, right? So do I have it all? Has my business grown as fast as my my motive, like my inner motivation is? No, but because I have made choices, intentional, conscious choices to prioritize some time with my children, over those aspirations. And I'm okay with that. And so in many ways I can feel like I have it all because it's a decision I've made, and I feel, and I'm willing to accept the consequence of not pursuing some things I otherwise would have if I didn't have children, So I think a bit of that is even mindset, right? Whether you feel like you're a victim of circumstance or, with COVID, look at COVID, right? And I understand why so many women are upset on the impact on career.
Yeah.
I do feel COVID has had some impact on my career, but I've made a choice. I have made decisions in my life. Yeah. Not everyone has, I will say. So I'm not saying that people can't feel frustrated about that, but I think, that notion of having it all, it depends how you define all,
It also depends. And I find that with experience, I find that people have a very short-term vision. When you look at what you can accomplish in 1 year, when you look at it right now, it's very scary. You're like, holy crap, like everything's at a standstill. My clients can't afford me anymore, or people are not buying my products, or, for X, Y, Z reason. But this is 1 year.
Right.
What about in your vision in 10 years, the impact that you can have, what you actually have that is under your control, the decisions that you make, the time you spend on social media to build your network, to connect with people, all of those decisions are within your control. And the impact it will have in the long run is it's compounded, right? So it's like compounded interest. It just grows and grows.
As it is with your children.
Exactly.
In everything. Yeah.
Exactly. So when people are scared right now, I say, yes, you're scared right now. But this is what I love, the Stockdale paradox, which is how to be mindful of what's happening in your current situation right now without losing faith or hope in your long-term vision.
Right.
So your long-term vision may be to have it all, and that's okay, because right now you're taking all your decisions in alignment with eventually having it all, knowing that having it all may be in 10 years, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I think people feel weighed down a lot because they want everything now. They want it yesterday.
Well, maybe it's that fear of, so what I was thinking as you were saying that was that when, let's take COVID, right? It's thrown at you. You don't have a decision. Like I see how upset people are around their kids being sent home from school, and I get it. Like it's a nightmare, especially if you work for someone else. Yeah. So something's thrown at you that's outside of your control. And if you're building your own business, there's that fear, I guess, right? Of what if, that then makes it hard to sort of adjust to the reality, the fear of what if this doesn't end up the way I wanted it to? And it's tough.
It's tough. But what I tell people is don't stay in that mindset. Like I tell my clients, don't stay in that mindset, because right now what you're doing is that you are in a mindset that is out of your control. So what you're doing is that you're inviting fear and doubt. And that is so damaging to yourself, to your mental health, to your well-being. So I bring my clients back to what is it that you do control?
Yes.
You have clients right now. How about reaching out to them and build that relationship with your clients? You have a company, you have your team is virtual right now. Perfect. Take that time to build your corporate culture. You have access to social media, network, go out there, meet people, do Zoom meetings. You have your children that are at home. Deepen your relationship with your children. Deepen that connection. Focus your attention, your energy on what you do have control over.
I agree. Yeah, totally. So I look at my shift through homeschooling. So we spent a week or two of just chaos. Chaos. The media being in our house all the time didn't help, but not that wasn't great. Thank you. But certainly added an extra layer of chaos to a very busy few weeks.
For sure.
And I was feeling massively frustrated at how I could only get client things done in my work. I had all these business development things underway and couldn't move any of them forward. I was feeling super frustrated, fearful probably, right? What if this is going to be my whole year where, I wasn't consciously thinking that through, but I think it was brewing under the surface.
Yeah.
And I just kind of had to, like you say, make that mindset shift. So I decided we're taking a few days off. We're going to visit my sister. I'm too spun up in my head. This is not good. Got away, had a great weekend of hiking, came back and just right? Everything felt manageable again. And part of that was me shifting to, okay, this is a decision I made. And so now I'm going to have to make more conscious decisions, I should say, on where I put my time.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to be more flexible. And, we talked about maybe my husband and I were making ourselves freer in the morning for the kids and working a bit at night and just finding ways to still find us time and me time, but prioritize our life around this new situation. But it took that mindset shift of these are decisions I'm making, and how are we going to make this work versus, oh, I'm so frustrated homeschooling the kids. This is never going to work, right? Because you just get all
and I think if I would have spoken to you at that time, this, because I only knew after the fact that you had gone to your sisters, but if I had spoken to you before, I would have said, and you said something very important. You said, all I can do is work with my clients right now, and I have all these like business development projects in my head. And I would have shifted and I would have told you, Lindsay, I want you to express gratitude because you do have clients.
Right.
Right?
Yes. So I had to get to that. Like, aren't you lucky you have client work?
Aren't you lucky you have clients? Yeah. And what I tell people is sometimes people are like, well, I have nothing. Like my business is shut down. My employees I can't pay them. Like I have nothing. And I completely understand. So I'm like, okay, I want you to find the smallest thing.
Yeah.
The fact that it's sunny outside. The fact that the mornings are cool right now and it feels good when you open the windows and you're still in your bed and you're cozy, but you have that soft, cool breeze in your face. Be grateful.
Yeah.
Be grateful because some people don't have a house.
Yeah.
And people tell me, Eloise, you're going to the extreme. And yes, I am. Yes, I am. Because I want you to find that place of gratefulness. Because when you feel grateful, when you are grateful for what you have, what you're actually doing is that you're opening yourself up to opportunities. And I always remind people, it feels like sometimes you're a horse. You know those horses, the Derby, the Kentucky Derby? They're running around. They have these things. I never know what they're called. I know what they're called in French, des oreillères, but I don't know what they're called in English. But there's things that blind the horse from seeing the other horses that are running next to him. And what expressing gratitude does is that it opens you up to seeing the opportunities that are around you.
Yeah.
When it hit, I said, be grateful that you have friends. And I'm like, why don't you just reach out to your friend, say, hey, how are you? How are you doing? Are you okay? And then my client called me, one of my clients I was telling this to, he called me back. He's like, you will not believe. I was talking to a friend of mine and he told me that I should get in touch with his like brother-in-law's friend and he got a new contract. I mean, but the fact that he was able to express gratitude, to realize that he had friends that were supporting in his life, that were there for him, that he was encouraged to reach out to those friends, led up to an opportunity.
Yeah.
And you're going to tell me, well, that's not always the case. Try it.
Yeah.
Gratitude and gratefulness is a miracle. It works like magic.
I agree with you. I mean, it gets you in that mindset, right? So
yes, absolutely.
Both Lisa and Sipor are sharing with you that they're called blinders, which I did not know.
Thank you.
They're called blinders. And I just wanted to share her. So Sipor is saying that she's the mom of 6 little ones. So I did not know that about you. Hats off to you. I feel too.
God bless you.
You probably hear that from every single person. So I apologize for perpetuating stereotypes. That's awful. But this is very valuable for her.
Good.
And keeps her focused in the phase that you're in. Yeah, I can imagine. So with your career and 6 kids, it is a juggling act, right? And figuring out how to do it in alignment, and that's where I can, for me, I can tell quickly when I'm out of alignment between my business and home priorities, when I start to get like really stressed, and the house has to be really clean. Usually I can let that stuff go. And all of a sudden it needs to be an army precision cleanliness. I'm like, whoa, you need to calm down a little bit. So she has some
my husband wishes I would get to that point of needing the house to be in
I don't know if we actually clean it. I just feel stressed about it not being. So that's my sign when I start to get really irritated about every single little thing. That's one of them at least.
So me, it's the opposite. Me, I start baking, so I make a huge mess. And my husband's like, when you're stressed, everybody in the house gets fat. And the thing is, I don't eat what I bake, right? So I just bake, I make a mess, but I feel better and everybody has to clean up. So
yeah, I love it. All right. So I've gone way over time because I just feel like I'm having coffee with you. So I'm going to cut us off here so that your kids get to see you tonight. And just thank you, of course, for coming by and chatting with us. I do want to share your website, of course. So you can find Eloise here at eloisegagnon.com.
Yep.
You're also obviously on LinkedIn. You and I chat quite a bit on LinkedIn. And so I encourage everyone to reach out and connect with you there. Is there anywhere else you want people to reach out to you?
That's really my 2 hotspots. I'm also on Instagram where you get like the lighter, funner side of me, which is not, as my corporate image that you see on LinkedIn. But on both platforms, if you're, looking for clarity, mission, being in alignment, I share a lot of tips and tricks. My goal is for people to really feel that connection and that flow when they work and when they build their business. So just reach out to me.
Awesome. All right. And as I said before, Eloise and I recorded a podcast episode together, number 12, The Importance of Purpose and Vision in Business. So you can check that out at lindsaylapaquette.com/podcast. And yeah, go take a look. And thank you, as always, for joining me.
Absolutely.
And I just want to share, so next week, we will be speaking 6 p.m. Wednesday. We'll be talking to Emily Nichols about, I forgot to look this up. Hang on, I know it. Beginning with a beginner's mind. So Emily's a great speaker and a colleague of mine, so you can join us then. So thanks everyone for watching, and we'll see you next week. Thanks again, Eloise.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.